Right. Okay. So let's kick this this event off. So thank you very much for joining this live event on Teams. It's quite a new feature on Teams, so it's a great way to demonstrate these solutions to you all. On the right-hand side of your screen, you should see a live event Q&A. During the presentation and the live demo, please feel free to add any questions as you see fit, and we'll try and reply back to them as best we can. On the event today, I've got Ben Roberts and Lee Trevelyan from Kofax. They're going to be running the presentation and the demonstration for you. So yeah, hope you're all looking forward to it, and we'll catch up after the call. So over to you, Ben.
Thank you very much, Gary. So thanks for joining today, guys. I am just going to help set the scene with you today to really understand the importance behind PDF software and how it can really help you in this current situation whilst we're all mostly working remotely. First of all, I just want to address some kind of background and pain points that you might be aware of or may not be aware of, in fact. First of all, a PDF is an ISO standard. So, Adobe actually created the PDF standard back in 1993, and it's kind of always been associated that they own the rights to PDF, but this is very much not the case. So just to address a bit of a legacy myth there, PDFs can be used by any other provider and can even be opened in a web browser in some cases, but generally once you've opened it, you can't do anything else with it unless you have some type of editing facility. Also, enterprises are using multiple different PDF solutions, so it's actually estimated that they could be using between 8 and 12 in some cases. That could be a combination of different PDF softwares or readers, or in some cases somebody might have gone rogue and downloaded their own freemium software online to make their job a little bit easier, because it is quite important to be able to do things like editing and combining, redacting, etc., etc. Also, as we are adapted, I would say now, to working from home, we all made a bit of an abrupt shift, and we weren't able to take the tools with us in some cases that we would normally associate when working with documents. So we have found ourselves doing things on our computer or desktops. Some of us might not be able to print in some cases as well, which kind of leaves a bit of a hole in how we can still actually use documents throughout our business. And finally, PDF software has always kind of seen at a bit of a high cost, so only maybe individuals within the business had access to it. So by using different software solutions to really grow these benefits, it opens the door to different departments and people where you can share those benefits across your business and enterprise. I don't usually show this slide, but I just wanted to address a couple of points today, as I think it's really important to know the kind of size of the market within PDF as a whole. It's approximately over $1 billion, and it's growing 20% year on year. And Adobe Acrobat have been a clear leader for a number of years for a number of reasons. Once of all, because they kind of created the standard once upon a time. And when you think about PDF, you would generally associate that to Adobe. Now, Adobe have a really interesting kind of go-to-market strategy. They might draw you in with an incentive or what seems like a nice price point, but as renewals come in year on year, you generally presented with quite a considerable price hike. Now, if you don't use Adobe and you're not familiar with that, another kind of common story that I've definitely been exposed to is working with Sky. So, I took out Sky once upon a time and I got a really good deal. My renewal came round the next year and it increased nearly 50%, which I was really quite shocked by. But I love premium sport channels, and the only way I could get them was by using Sky. So I accepted it, bit the bullet, and I kind of renewed again. Next year came and it hiked again, and I kind of got a little bit fed up. So I ended up cancelling the contract. So I would have thought many of you have been in that scenario, and if you're using Adobe now, you might be familiar with it. But more than anything, it's just a bit of awareness of how they work in that model. They have also recently switched to a subscription service, which is a fairly low cost per seat per month. But if you're using this, across your business, those prices really start to add up, even in year one. And if you start looking at 3, 5, or maybe a decade of using these types of solutions, the cost can be really quite substantial. And that's one of the reasons the market has grown so big, because they've heavily pushed this SaaS model. Looking at ourselves from a Kofax perspective and the offering we have with Power PDF, we're the first alternative to Adobe. We really focus on the Office functionality, right? So really what people day to day are using PDF software for. Adobe have a few niches around the kind of graphics and marketing space with 3D capabilities and 4-way color separation. But as I said, these are really quite a niche area for which we're not even trying to pursue. We really pride ourselves on helping people within the office to give them the tools that they really need. We also only offer a perpetual license, which essentially means you purchase the license and it's yours for the foreseeable future. We then offer maintenance wrapped around that for a number of different years, depending on the model that you want to go for, to ensure that you're supported in the right way. So you've got real people behind the phone. You've got the likes of ourselves able to walk and talk you through how you can really use and benefit this within your business. And then finally, you've got other players in the market like Nitro, Foxit, and others, not eating up as much market share, but still very much there. None of them for which are offering the type of service that Power PDF can do, and also, and most importantly, the user experience, which I'll touch on in a moment. So here you've got some typical tools you might associate when working with documents. And if you're anything like me, I don't own one of these tools in my office at the moment. Or I say office, it's actually a garage. And I'm sure some of you are sitting in makeshift offices, kitchens, bedrooms, maybe even lounges, etc. Those tools that you see on the window there are things we would use to work with information once it's kind of been printed. But if we don't have that facility, how are we annotating documents or assembling them in the right way and numbering pages, or maybe stripping out sensitive stuff that we don't want to share with our internal systems or customers? That really is quite a challenge. And this is essentially what PDF software can really bring to you, because it allows you to do all of these changes directly from a screen, saving you quite a lot of time to the traditional print and manual process. So 5 of the top reasons to use Power PDF. First and foremost, we offer some free trials. So we urge you to try and use the software to see how it can benefit your business, which are all accessible via Gary and SOS or your account manager. As for the install and configuration, with software as a whole, it's always labeled to maybe be a challenge internally, change management, etc. How do I know how to map out my processes, and how easy is it going to be to roll out? We try to make this as simple and as easy as possible for our end users. So we have a quick wizard-driven installation process. In terms of configuration, everything is out of the box. So the functionality is all pre-built and ready for you to use. So you haven't got to think about internal processes and mapping workflows, etc. Only the ability of, only understanding how to use the features that are already created. It completely supports remote working, as I've alluded to already. We don't have those tools accessible now. And making those chops and changes directly from a screen is far more efficient. It's extremely competitively priced. So typically we're 1/3 of the cost of Adobe, and in some cases even more competitive in that sense. We would always ask you to share those details with us to help you understand how much could be saved. And finally, the user experience. So arguably the most important thing, how easy is it to use? We purposely follow like a Microsoft Office theme. So you've got a similar ribbon and toolbar approach. So it's almost like a natural progression from Microsoft. And I think there's 1 in 7 users globally that are using Microsoft Office. So it's a very, very easy transition for people to grasp. So what kind of questions are we being asked, especially at the moment? Security is one of the most important things. How can I ensure that my documents are secure, sent and secured in the appropriate way? By this, we offer password security. So, people can offer passwords when they are trying to load documents. We can also do things like locking down features to ensure that it's not printed or copied in an appropriate way. We also offer integration with the likes of DocuSign to be able to sign for documents electronically, which is very, very hot. Well, it's a very hot topic at the moment, for which SOS are actually a partner with. And something as simple as just being able to search a PDF. So if you've got a huge document, in some cases 100 pages, like talking about the Kofax technical manuals, really chunky documents with some great content in, but I can't absorb all that in one hit, well, 10 hits, to be quite honest. So having an instant search facility to be able to locate to key phrases, etc., allows me to cascade information really easily. So why do customers need it? In the shortest and most easiest reference, it's the easiest way to do anything with a PDF. So, if you need to take it beyond viewing, printing or storing, this is really where we become the kind of go-to solution. It's the most compliant way to be able to share, protect and certify any of your PDS files, and it's 100% compatible with industry standards ISO 2.0. This means that if the PDF is 10 years old plus, you're still going to be able to use that document. As you might be familiar with yourself, some documents can be corrupt if you're not using the right components. Also, we have a drag and drop facility. So Lee might touch on this later, but being able to drag and drop information is really intuitive and follows that Windows kind of format again. And there's really so much more. Now, this kind of screen presents a whole load of different features aligned to different departments or business types. And to be quite honest, I'm not going to focus on any one of these particularly because they're all very relevant to everyone. And if it's not you, it's going to be somebody within your business. And I'll give you some personal stories on how I can use this in my day-to-day job. I already mentioned being able to instantly search for some information embedded within a chunky document. I'm using this probably every couple of hours to communicate references with my partners. That provides a credible service and also saves me an enormous amount of time. I can then do some simple things like extracting a couple of pages and automatically sending it via email to that individual, really kind of fomenting that relationship that we have. Also redaction. So there's been a big increase in the need for kind of secure information in the way that we share and send it. And being able to strip out the content that might be sensitive is really, really useful. And we're seeing a lot of activity around redaction in lots of different businesses at the moment. What's also important to mention about redaction is, we actually take out the text layer, never mind the kind of text on the page itself, to ensure that nobody else can really get insight to that data. And document assembly. So, being able to create packs of information, if you need to send them to a customer for whatever reason, we offer a really intuitive kind of interface to be able to assemble your documents. So you're not having to kind of build up your own personal folder and then maybe rename the files in a sequence that is relevant to you and then combining them in a zip. I've done it before, and that's the truth. So it's all these little things that can add up to really kind of give and make your life a little bit easier. Just want to kind of present a little bit of a business case in terms of savings towards Adobe. Now, as I said, a lot of people will be using Adobe out there, and as they have this kind of lion's share of the market, it's almost monopolized to a certain extent. So if we take their SaaS model as an example, here we've got an estimate price of £12, just over £12.50. To be fair, that could be £15 or £20 in some cases, depending on the model that you're in. Looking at that cost of the business for a 5-seat license over 3 years would cost you £2,257, right? So fairly chunky investment for 5 licenses. Whereas you look at Power PDF with 5 perpetual licenses with the same maintenance and support, we're coming in at a 60% saving. So, you know, it would always depend on what you're currently using, etc. But we would love to work with you to understand if there's similar savings that you could be making internally. And I won't go through all of this, but it just gives you another simulation over 5 years. As that SaaS model is SaaS, so it's rolling year on year or month on month, you can imagine that cost is going to grow considerably the more you use it. So if you've used Adobe for 5 years already, it's likely that you would have been spending, you know, these kind of figures. Whereas Power PDF, you can see here that the savings are just going to go up and up and up every year, you know, that you would potentially be using Adobe in comparison to Power PDF. So happy to take any of this offline and work with you on a one-to-one basis. And likewise, on the previous slides, if there was any features that were more important to you, we would love to do a one-to-one session to walk and talk you through how we can help with that. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague Lee, who's going to give you a few demonstrations around conversion forms, redaction, and then also security. So without further ado, Lee, I'll ask you to share.
Thanks very much, Ben, and hopefully you can see my screen, which is showing the Power PDF interface. So just a quick intro, my name's Lee Trevelyan. Consultant sales engineer for Kofax, just supporting Ben on some of the demos that we're doing on this product. So as I say, this is the opening screen. Once you've initiated the application, this is what a user will actually see. So you've got some recent files in the middle of the screen here. I could just click on these to open a document, or I can click on the open box here and browse out to different documents, or I could actually create a new document here. So I'm just going to come back and click on this convert to Word PDF that we've got here, and we can navigate the size of the screen just around the bottom here to zoom in, zoom out, etc. And in this particular demo we're going to show here, we're going to actually convert this document into a winter version of our Tropical Adventure leaflet. Now, this document could have been scanned in, so I do have the ability at the top here to drive a scanner that is set up on my desktop PC or my laptop. So I use a scanner that's on my network at home here, so I can just click on here and drive that scanner remotely. So if I want to actually make some edits to this and some substantial edits, so it's going to be easier for me to do this in Microsoft Word. So along the top ribbon here, so you'll see we've got a nice ribbon interface, as Ben mentioned earlier, and this simulates the same type of experience a user will have using any of the Microsoft Office products. So this is our ribbon toolbar, and in there you see we have MS Word. So if I now click on that, it's going to ask me if I want to convert the whole document or just a current page. So I can select pages out of a document if need be. This is just a single page, so I'm going to select OK. Give it the name here of our Word document. We now go through our conversion process and open the document directly into Microsoft Word. So if I just resize the page just here, you'll get a good comparison of what the original PDF looked like on the left and what it looks like in our Word conversion on the right here. So from a layout perspective, it's identical. So now I can actually start working on this document as a Word document. So if I just come into our page width so we can see a bit easier. So you'll see here we've got a font on a blue background. And I can just start typing directly in here. Because we've recognized those fonts and that background from our recognition engine, we don't need to start changing any of the format if we want to keep that the same. So there's two different fonts we've seen here. We've got a paragraph here, so I could obviously cut and paste text in here or start typing in here. We've got a graphic on the right hand side here that we want to change, so we can just right click on that and change that picture. Again, this is all standard Word functionality that we're using here. So this is more of a winter image that we've got here. And we've got a table here. Now, a lot of applications or PDF tools will see this as a series of text boxes. So if I wanted to start adding different information here, I would have a lot of manipulation around moving those text boxes around. But we actually see this as a table. So I can use the insert rows above or below capability here. And as you see, as default, we retain the font, and I can start adding my information in there as we go through here. We've also got 3 areas here for our columns, and again another picture and another table. So that hopefully just demonstrates that we can manipulate the document in that layout that we would expect. And if I want to convert this into the winter version of this leaflet now, an option when you install the product is to install the Kofax PDF ribbon toolbar in the Office products. So what I can do now is just click on Create PDF, and what we'll do now is we'll just go through the process of looking at this altered document and put this back into PDF. It's going to prompt me for a file name, and we're going to call that a winter version of this document, because we don't want to overwrite our original version. So there's our winter document. And so what we now do is we open this document in Power PDF, and you'll see here is the document we've just edited in Word. It's now in a PDF format. So as you see, if we go back to the original tropical one, very quickly, we've edited that. Okay, we can also do a similar conversion, but this time using Microsoft Excel as our output. So I'll just start this off converting straight away. And you'll see this PDF that we've actually got here is actually just some statistics, financial data that we've got. So again, this particular feature may be more useful for people working in maybe accounts departments that have to formulate or deal with figures or produce reports or presentations. With this as a PDF, if I've received this or scanned this in, we selected our Excel conversion, and here's our document now in Excel format. And again, we can manipulate and cut and paste the data out as we need to in this document. And you'll see we've retained the layout of, the blue background here and the format that was in the original document. So that was our conversion to Excel. We have another capability, especially in today's climate where people are working remotely. We may have various different forms that we would send people. So this could be our colleagues, or it could be our customers even. So if I had this particular form here, if I wanted to send this maybe to Gary for him to complete, if I just zoom in, you'll see as I move my cursor over the page, that cursor doesn't change anywhere here at all. So even if I'm clicking on the page, I'm not able to actually input any text here. So if I did email this to Gary, he would probably have to print this out, fill it in using the handwriting format, then scan that back in, then attach that scan back to an email to me. And then I would have a document that's now got handwriting on it that I would need to try and extract the information off of that document manually. So quite a long process. So we have a capability of actually taking this document, and this could have been created in Microsoft Word or Excel, or it could have been scanned in. And if we come to our forms toolbar, you'll see we have this form typer button. And when I run this now, it goes through this document and it tries to analyze where we might have some information that may need to be filled in. So now you see we've got a number of these grey boxes that are on this page. And if I zoom in again and just look at the same area, where the grey boxes are now, where I move my mouse cursor, I can now start to add information into these areas. And I can carry on through the document adding this in. You'll see we've got some checkboxes. So the form typer has actually recognized those as checkboxes and even made them intelligent so that you can only select one of the answers. Just to point out on the left-hand side here, we do have our what we call form controls. And if you wanted to get a little bit more technical with each of these boxes with regards to what type of font is being used, what color, etc., we can come into, for example, where we filled Gary here. If I just delete Gary from that response one and we look at this area, you'll see, for example, I can change this maybe to a red font now. The font size is set to automatic based on the size of the box. And I can start to put some hints here, such as enter your name. Close that now. So now when I hover over this area, if I was to put Gary in again, you'll see we've changed that to a red font. And when I hover over it, we now get the enter your name tooltip pop up. So this is not specific to Power PDF, this form capability. Forms are part of the PDF ISO standard that Ben mentioned earlier. So if I was to save this as a blank form and send it to Gary now, he could then go through this form, complete this without printing it out, save it as his completed version, and then just attach it back on an email to me. So what I'll do is just introduce another demo that we do with our PDF forms here. So this is another form that we've produced for our breakfast meetings. And this is something that we may want to send to someone to decide if we're buying breakfast for them at that meeting. So we can put their name in, they can put their email address in. So if I put in Ben's details here, for example, we've got a meeting date. So if I just put in here any old information, I've actually put validation on here as well. So when I try and click off of here, it tells me that this actually needs to be in the date format of DDMMYY. So now I can put today's date in, for example, make sure my number locks on. And now I can click away and it's accepted it as a proper date format. We can also do drop-down boxes. So I've got some information here and you can create these quite easily on the document. So if we come up to the top left-hand corner here, you'll see we've got some additional tools. So if there was maybe a drop-down that wasn't on that form after using form typer, I can come up and just add these here. Now we've actually added just a button here with a little bit of JavaScript behind this. And when we select this button, what this actually does is it takes this PDF now. You'll see Ben actually we filled Ben's name in the email address, so it's going to copy him on it. It's taken the date that we input and also my information here. So now if this was coming back to me from Gary, he wouldn't have to actually fill anything in from that perspective there. But also if I'm receiving all these forms coming back from people, we have this capability to export data from the forms. So using that breakfast scenario of receiving back a number of those forms, here's 7 forms that have been emailed back to me. I can export the data out of here, and this is going to ask me for a file name, and we can select this to be comma separated or in an Excel format. So I'll choose the comma separated, because when I click on view now, I can use Excel now, and it tells me here the file name and some information, so who the person's name was, what date the breakfast meeting was going to be on, and obviously the date is in Excel. So if I needed to extract that information from multiple forms and put them into other systems, then I can do that really easily. And again, you're not looking at trying to decipher handwritten information from a form you may have sent out. So that's a lot easier for us to actually take the data and manipulate that, but it's also a lot easier for our colleagues or my customers to actually complete that form in the first place. Okay, so let's just close those down. The next demo that we're going to look at is actually around creating some PDFs. So as you saw earlier, we could click on new here, or we could actually drive a scanner. But if I've got some documents already that I actually want to put into a PDF, we've seen we can open a Word document and select the ribbon toolbar to create a PDF. But here's a number of documents in different formats here. So we've got a mixture of Word, Excel, PDF, and an image file. And if I want to create all of these into a single PDF, I can highlight them all. And again, I have this additional toolbar that's optional on install to actually combine all these files as one PDF. And I can also put some other information around it, such as I want it in a draft quality, or I want to make it completely searchable, or put a confidential tag across it, or even secure it via passwords, which we'll look at in a moment. So that's one way of actually generating PDF. I've actually got this PDF already open here, and we've got on the Home tab this document assembly mode. So if I switch into this mode now and just come back to our documents, I can just take this Word document and just drag it into Power PDF here. And then in the background, what we're actually doing here is we're converting this from Word, which is a 3-page letter, and inserting it into the document here. So there's our 3 pages, but this original PDF form is in the wrong place, so I can just pick that up and move that to the end here. What I can also do is do the same thing with these additional documents here. So you'll see here I've got a PowerPoint, which is actually a 2-page PowerPoint. I've got an Excel file, which is an actual single page of statistics. And then I've just got a graphic image, a JPEG here of the accident scene. So what I'm going to get prompted for here is, do I actually want to combine these 3 files into this document that we've actually got open? So this will just ask me to confirm that. And there we go. I'll click OK. And you'll see, there we go, we've added those documents in here. And again, maybe this is in the wrong layout, so I can just drag these into the correct layout until I'm happy. And maybe this image here, if I right click on it, I can actually rotate this, because maybe I want this in a more portrait orientation. So now if I wanted to send this, you'll see in the top here, we do have a little ribbon toolbar at the top here, a little envelope. If I click on here, it's asking me if I want to combine this whole document. And again, it's open my Outlook client. I can just type in here that I want this to go to Ben now, and it's attached this PDF file. So very quickly, I'm able to generate a PDF, manipulate the PDF, and then put it in the right format. And just to point out, in this mode as well, I use this document assembly mode for a lot of things, not just creating PDFs. But I could, for example, here, just highlight these 2 pages and right click and extract these pages out of this document into a separate PDF. And I use this where we've got maybe a manual on one of our products that runs into maybe a couple of hundred pages. And I've got a query on a particular feature or function and how it's done. And instead of sending the whole 200 pages to someone, I might want to just extract those 2 pages out that are relevant around the feature we're talking about. And again, I can just come up, click on the mail icon button, and now I can send that straight out. So it's really quick and easy to get to the correct information and distribute that as necessary. Okay, so the next demo that we're going to look at is around just securing some information in a document. So you'll see here I've got an 8-page document. If we zoom into the first page, we've got people's names and information on here. So there comes times when you might want to remove information actually from documents, but not whole pages, but certain parts of it. And we can use the redaction feature in Power PDF for this. So if I come to the security tab, you'll see I've got some redaction properties and I can change the color for this. So I'm going to do the first redaction in white, and I'm going to use our mark tool here. So my icon, my mouse turns to a crosshair. So now I can draw a box around this area here, and this highlights the information that's going to be redacted. And what the redaction will do is if I move my mouse over that, it will completely remove that paragraph of text out of the document. So that's redaction, and I would use white redaction for an area that maybe I don't want anyone to know there was anything actually there before. But if I come back and maybe just change to our black color here, what I can also do, because this document is already text searchable, I can just highlight a person's name here. So you'll see the name Curtis there is highlighted again. And if I hover over it, this time it turns black. My original area is still white. And at this point, I could actually send this maybe to my boss to say, look, this is the information that I'm going to redact out of the document. And we haven't actually applied the redaction. So he can just go through and make sure the work I've done is correct. Or if I'm happy that it's correct, and in this instance, I know Curtis appears 26 times. Now, I don't want to scroll through and try and look for the name Curtis through the whole document, especially if it's maybe 100 or so pages. But what I can do is come up to our search and redact tool here. So if I now type the name in Curtis, and I can put it in lowercase because we're not worrying about the case here. I can do search and redact. It's found my 26 instances. I can say select all of them and then mark each one of those for redaction. So if I scroll down now, you'll see where Curtis is now appearing throughout the rest of the document. So I'm going to go ahead now and apply this redaction. And this box here basically is saying, do you also want me to remove this information from the text searchable layer? So as you'll see in a moment, the document is text searchable, but I don't want anyone to search for Curtis and find it that way. So we've taken it away visually, as you can see on screen, but I also want to remove this from the text searchable layer. So now what I'll do is I'll just save this as a redacted version. There we go. And I'll close the document and then just come back up and open that redacted version. And here you'll see the redaction has actually been applied. And if we go back to this mode here, you'll see all the other instances of where the name Curtis appeared. And just to highlight, here we have the search feature. So if I search this current document for the name Curtis again, it comes back with no results. But if I search for his surname, Anderson, then what you'll see here is Anderson is actually still in the document, and still we have a fully searchable document. So that's a way of securing information that's actually in the document. Now, what we can do to actually aid the security of the document beyond this is start to look at adding more security to the document. So we have a capability here of putting some passwords on the document, or also putting our handwritten signature on the document. So if I come up here and just click on my Manage tab here, I have some signatures that I've previously put into the document. I can add a new one by clicking on the plus here, and you'll see I can either draw my signature in this box with a mouse, which as you'll see is quite difficult. I can type it in, or I can import my image, my signature from an image. So just to show you here, we're going to put a red version of Lee in here. We're going to call this Red Lee so we can see it in the demo. So if I highlight this now and click this tick box here, this is going to be my default signature. So if I now come up and click on place, I can actually place that signature on the document. So maybe you wouldn't actually use a signature in this place on this particular document, but it shows you how you could actually potentially put your signature into a PDF. Now, one thing here, this signature is just an image. If someone else had written that or drawn that poorly, Lee's signature there, or obtained my signature, if they had placed that on the document, I'd have no way of knowing that if I'm just viewing the PDF. So I can again secure my signature in here. If I come back to modify the security on the document around password security, if I select our password security here, first thing I can do here is put a password on the PDF itself. So without me exchanging this password, it would stop anyone opening the PDF. So at that point, as soon as I disclose that password to that third party, they could disclose that password on to other people, and I've lost control at that point. We have another way of securing the PDF. So if I just add a password in this box, what I can now start to do is restrict what people can actually do with the PDF. So if I set this option here to none, this means that the printing of this document is not allowed. So no one can produce a hard copy. At the moment, any changes can be made on the page, but again, I can limit that to none. And again, I've also disabled here, by not having this checkbox text, any selecting and copying and pasting of any of the content of the document. So if I click OK now, it's going to ask me just to verify the password and give me a summary of the changes. And then it's telling me if I need to actually make these changes effective, I need to save this document as well. So I'm actually going to call this a secured version of the document. And again, I'll just close and then reopen that document. So here's my red signature here. So you'll see I can select it, but if I try and right click on here, there is no way I can copy or delete it out of here. And the same for any text. You saw in the previous demo, I could hover over my cursor and highlight and copy it. And again, I can still highlight the text here, but if I right click, you'll see the copy feature is actually grayed out. So I can't even copy text out. If I come up to the file and my print capability, I can't print. And also, even if I try and be clever and maybe use our word conversion, you'll see that's still password protected at this point. So we've secured this document with my signature on it. And so I could actually distribute this document, but I have no control over where the document actually goes at this point. In some instances, this may be legally admissible if you're agreeable to the third party that these features are okay. But to be really legally admissible, then you really need to use a third party integration such as DocuSign. So a couple of features I'm going to show here. The first one is I'm going to show our integration with SharePoint here. So here I'm able within Power PDF to browse my SharePoint site, and you'll see I've got a PDF here, and I'm opening this directly from our SharePoint site. And so this is a secrecy document. I want a third party to sign, and I want this to be legally admissible. So I want them to actually sign this document. So rather than just actually email this to them, if we come up and select our DocuSign integration and send via DocuSign, what we're now going to do is bring the power of DocuSign into PDF. So DocuSign is actually a third-party company from Kofax, but it is also a partner of SOS. So SOS can give you more information about DocuSign and pricing, etc. So here I've opened up this document now. It was a 3-page PDF, as you'll see on the right. And here's my areas I want my customer to actually complete. So the first thing I need to do is just click on my add recipients. So in this case, I've got a demo user called Lee Trev. They're going to be my customer. So I'm going to select that recipient, and then I can start to bring out these fields within DocuSign that I want that customer to actually complete. So if I bring these couple of fields out, and maybe a text box there. So that's fine. There's a lot more features within DocuSign, but this is all I want to show you at this point here. I can now click on the send button. And so what happens now is the actual user, so my customer, this is their email account, this Lee Trev account. You'll see they receive an email. And so it says there's a document to review. And if they click on this document now, you'll see it opens up now in DocuSign for them. Now, this particular user doesn't have a DocuSign account, but they do need to click on the agreement here around the terms and conditions of using this service. They've got a start button, and then this will drive them to click the following tabs here. And you'll see some of them are already filled in. And then it asks me to sign here. So if I click on this signature box, I can actually manipulate my signature here to some degree, but I can also just click adopt and sign. Now, before actually sending that back, if I look at my actual email, so this is my Kofax email, I've actually received an email as well to say that that Lee Trev user has actually started to review the document. They've opened and viewed that document. So I get notification that my customer is actually working on the document. And now when they click on finish, that document's now completed. They could take a local copy of that, but what they will get, and you'll see they receive an email here, is a copy of the PDF attached to their email. One of the things I should have shown you earlier is just dropping back to my SharePoint site. This is where that original secrecy document is. So we'll come back to that again in a moment. If I drop into my email, what I'm expecting to see is an email now telling me that that customer has completed the document. So now if I open that, I've actually got visibility that this customer has now signed this document. And we do have a little signatures tab here that pops out. It tells me the signature is valid. It's not been modified since the signature was applied. And if need be, in DocuSign, we can get a certificate that shows the complete audit trail of this document. And that basically can be used in to make this legally admissible as a signed contract now. So again, because we're potentially working remotely, if I come back to my connectors now, where I open this from my SharePoint site, I might want to save it back to my SharePoint site now. So if I just name this as an approved version and click on save, SharePoint will prompt me for a couple of pop-ups here to check the document in. But if I come back to my SharePoint site now and just do a refresh, you'll see here's the approved version of the document. And if I just click to use the SharePoint viewer now, you'll see that the document has been signed. So obviously using SharePoint in these times, anyone else in my business, if we're working from home, this document's now shareable to the rest of the business for people that have access to this particular repository. Okay, so that really concludes my demo of some of the key features within Power PDF Advanced. So I'll hand back over to Ben.
Thank you very much, Lee. And you know what, every time I watch this, I always learn something new, especially around those form capabilities, you know, being able to insert or make sure the date formats are correct or selecting options. Really, really useful tools for sure. So we just want to open up the floor for any questions that we might have. So Gary, I'll let you mediate that for us, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got two questions at the moment. One is, when combining files, is it possible to number the pages dynamically? For example, each document to have page X or Y and then an overall page number X of Y for the entire document.
The answer is yes, we can. So you'll see I've got an 8-page document here and there's no page number in it on it at all. The way we basically achieve that is through our headers and footers. For any legal people that are on the call, we do have Bates numbering capability, but just for straightforward page number in here, if I want to put a page number in the bottom right hand corner, for example here, I can select page number. I can select how I want that to actually appear. So I think the query was page 1 of N. I can set what page number I start at, click OK. We're going to put that in the right corner, click our macro there. That's what it's going to look like. I'll apply that and then just zoom in down the bottom and you'll see I have page 1 of 12, page 2 of 12, etc. And if we wanted to do that across multiple documents but keep the same numbering, we could either bring the whole document into here, so it's one PDF, or if you wanted to keep them as separate PDFs, then we could use the Bates numbering feature to add multiple documents in here and then apply the same header or footer as need be.
Lee, sorry to interrupt you. Did you think you were sharing your screen at that time?
Oh, I did.
I thought you might. I think I've got the title screen on, but you know, if you want to see a further demo of that, we could definitely drill down into that on a one-to-one session for you. Yeah,
sorry, I'll quickly just show you how I've done that. So this is the headers and footers. I want to insert a page number. This is the format of the page number, starting at page 1. Insert that in the bottom right hand corner and OK. And that's now applied that, as you'll see at the bottom of the pages here, our page 3 of 12, 4 of 12, etc.
Thanks, Lee.
That's great. We also got another question. What happens if a redacted document is converted to Word? Does this still redact the information?
It does, yeah. So you saw the box pop up where I mentioned, do we want to remove that information from the text searchable layer? So if you say yes, remove, then when you convert it to Word, then that information is not in the document at all and won't appear in the Word version.
Great. Also, another question's come in. Do you have a metadata editing functionality?
I'm not sure what you mean by metadata, but if it's around the information that appears here around the author and subject matter, then as you'll see, I've got this particular document open now, and I can come in and add the author. We can actually put this in as defaults as well in the document, but I can edit this metadata you see here. I don't know if that answers the question sufficiently.
Okay, that's great. Any more questions from anyone attending? Okay, nothing's come in at the moment, so I think we're all good. Okay, well, thank you very much, Ben and Lee, for demonstrating the product, and thank you very much for everyone attending. We'll be catching up with you all very soon about the demonstration, and if you've got any questions in the meantime, feel free to fire them across to myself or your relevant account manager. But have a great day, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.